Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. Joined by Tom Crotty from Carlow, Johnny Tobin from Tullow, and James Blanchfield from Kilkenny Rugby Clubs. Lads, how's it going? Getting busy, isn't it?
Getting there.
Getting busy, getting down to business.
Yeah, lots of stuff starting to happen. We're going to talk about a number of different things over the course of the show. The All Blacks in Australia, which happened earlier on today, which is a weird time, I suppose, but there's a lot of AFL finals and that going on in Australia and around, so they're trying to get around that. Sean O'Brien's application to play junior rugby tonight. We'll talk about that, talk about any local games coming up this weekend, but we'll start with the weekend gone. Tom Crotty was a happy man on Saturday. Got the lovely weather in Oak Park, beat Kilkenny, and then it lashed out with on Sunday. Thank God the game wasn't on Sunday, Tom.
Absolutely. It was.
I'm going to head off there now for this bit, Tom. I leave it off. Okay?
Put it on mute.
No,
I wouldn't blame you.
No, we started. First game up was the second game. Kilkenny came out of the blocks, and I think our lads were kind of caught in the headlights for a wee little while. I think we got in 2 or 3 scores before we knew what had happened. The seconds played well for a period of time. Superb performances from Mick Shear and young prop. It's great to see him coming through. Really, really good ball handling. Dave Keppel led as captain. Really had another strong game. Jack Hickey then was normally a flanker, went into the centre, and Jack, I don't think anybody passes Jack. He has to be the most phenomenal tackler I've ever come across. He's one of these old-fashioned tacklers, the tacklers at the ankles. He had a superb game. Things were going well until the injury started happening. As I said before, last week, I think we had a bench full of forwards, so we were just backs, or a shortage of backs at the moment with injuries. So we were doing quite well, and then another couple of niggly injuries went off, and then the heads went down again. Kilkenny came back, and in fairness, they're good side. Played very nice rugby. There was a cracking game for periods of it. But Kilkenny's just strength at the end, even from the bench coming on, just was too much to handle. I have to say, Cormac O'Kelly was having a cracking game on the wing. Cormac hasn't played rugby since he was 14. He played against Wexford, had a great game against Wexford, and was starting to really, really shine. For somebody who's hasn't played and hasn't played since a young fella, and but he got a bad knock to his neck at the end of the game. But thank God he's all right. I kind of put a dampener on the end of the game. So, but he's back and he's sore, but he's in good nick. So, hopefully, we'll see him back on the pitch again. The first senior game, well, we weren't expecting it. And I said I don't know whether I was very nervous coming into the game. To be honest, I thought Kilkenny coming up. I think again with you can't just say injuries. Kilkenny had players missing as well, but it's when you kind of see your panel and when you're missing your wingers and someone in your back line, and saw how close it was with the team that was there last year. So kind of going in without some of those players, we were very nervous. We had young Josh Cope back in. Josh played at 9 down against Enniscorthy. His first senior game playing 9. He only kind of slotted in at 9 when the under 18s, but I have to say Josh had a great game, a really, really good game on Saturday. So we're missing our two starting scrum halves, and Josh did a really, really good job. So we just started off with intensity. Everything just went well for us. It wasn't like we didn't play. We just kind of played rugby. It was the structure was this. Kind of on and off. Sometimes was there, sometimes wasn't there, but there was just a determination, and I think when they just suddenly got a feeling that that this could be their day and they were going to have a chance, and I think everyone just got stuck in. The pack had an outstanding game. Their scrummaging was just unreal. I have to say the front row of Evan Gordon, Ross Byrne, and Owen Edgell were just superb, and Evan's darts in the line out, and we normally be giving out like you know, that's somewhere we've kind of had issues all along, you know, with throwing the ball in darts, but we were getting the ball to 6 and off the top at 6, and just really, really, really good play. There's so many players that played. Ross Elms had a cracking game of 8. You know, just
carried well.
Really, really carried well with a hunger and determination. You know, just to make ground off 8. Young Alan Owens, if we actually look, which isn't exactly what you want to see, but Alan Owens at 10 was actually did an awful lot of the cheering out in the rucks, you know, at times. So, as I say, it wasn't exactly the best performance tactically wise or structure wise, but it was just a really gutsy. I have to say, if you took that performance and put it into a couple of games that we played last year, we would have been in a totally different position at the end of the season. I reckon we would have been, if we didn't lost that sheer gutsy throw their body on the line, not only in defense but in attack, just to act, you know, everybody that carried the ball took the ball, made ground. Our penalty count was actually down on a lot, even though I think we gave away 12 penalties in total over the whole game. It was still down on last season, so that is a definite plus. Look, I'd be very, very happy. There's a couple of lads there really putting their hands up for later in the season when the league starts, you know, for positions. I thought we have there's plenty of potential. Again, we've lost. The only problem coming out of this game is we've lost our out half coming into the Mullingar game. It looks like Owensy may not be back for that game because he's out for 21 days with the concussion protocol. We'll be still missing our wingers. I think my young fella Dan is going to play this weekend against New Ross. We have New Ross away, which is not going to be an easy task. So we're kind of there's a couple of guys trying to come back from injury. That, as I say, Daniel is going to play. I think he'll end up playing 10 against New Ross because we don't actually have another 10. So hopefully, look, things are good. Other than not. We can't harp on about injuries. That's life. I mean, look, rugby, it's contact sport, but you lose players. Absolutely. I'm just shocked that we have that many this year. It sound like James last season. I really actually started to feel how you know. But
oh God,
it's really early in the season, so let's just hope this gets like none of the. Like some lads are coming back from injuries last season, like Dave McDermott is coming back with his knee, or his ankle. Sorry, his ligaments in his ankle went at the end of the Kilkenny game, the town scope. Right. Like he's making really, really good recovery. So hopefully we'll have him back before Christmas. So look, it's a positive result. We need, as I was saying to James earlier, like we needed that win because it's your first home game. You're trying to get a crowd behind you again and try and keep the momentum that you had last season. If you go down, in your first home game, it's you put yourself on the back foot, and straight away people are kind of going, oh, we lost Kilkenny again, and so it was nice to get the win. And look, the lads had a few pints after. We all had a few pints afterwards, and it was a good day out. So, not Kilkenny's day this time, but look, it was great.
How was from your side, James?
Well, look, from our side, I think I go back to the seconds match first because Tom touched on a few important points on it. Like, I mean, our seconds team, the lads went up with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder after Carlow knocked them out, I think was the plate last year. And that was a little bit of a motivation for them. So it was probably the opposite in the first game, and it was mentioned with the seconds of training last Thursday night, that they wanted to get a cut off Carlow because of that. We need to remember that Carlow seconds team went pretty much unbeaten the whole of last season as well. So there was a lot of motivation there for us. But from our side, it was a very young team, and it's a seconds team of players that have come the whole way through the club. One or two lads have come to live in Kilkenny. Dave Moore, out half, was put in there, but predominantly it's an out-and-out Kilkenny team. So one of the important things for us was, I think there was 22 or 23 seconds players tagged out, independent of the first. Lee McGuee and Ty Butler came off to go over to the first, but apart from that, it was kind of a bootstrap seconds team where they were a standalone squad, which was great to see. one of the real keys of it is Liam McQueen at number 8 from us, who played kind of with you, Tom, I'd say years ago when it was the joined up Kilkenny Carlow under 18 team.
Yeah.
Liam has just come on in leaps and bounds over the last 2 years. He's been knocking around the seconds team a long time. He's captain now at the moment, but he's taken responsibility. He's taken ownership and doing a very good job of that on the pitch. So Liam deserves a pat on the back for that. I know it's early in the season, but he is that kind of talisman for the seconds now, that he brings that hardness and that bit of aggression. Another chap that's worth mentioning is young James Kenny, who was in the back row at number 7. James is straight out of under 18s. He got under 18 player of the year last year. And he stood out in that game. A young fellow of 17 or 18, where a young fellow of 17 or 18 probably shouldn't. But he did an absolute brilliant job there at number 7. So from a seconds perspective for us, we're absolutely delighted. The lads were thrilled to come away with a good win. I think it was 19 points to 32. Let Carlow back into the game at the end of the first half, nearly in the second half, but we got back into it and we're thrilled. But the first match, in many ways, Carlow dominated the game, and we were on our WhatsApp group chatting between the four of us, but Carlow absolutely dominated the game for the first 25, 30 minutes. I think we were outside our own half once. I'd like to say that we were comfortable in defence for a lot of it, that we did defend quite well. Joe Manuel and Podge did a very good job at defence, and the D-line was up. But during that opening phase of the game, we were conceding way too many penalties, like way too many penalties. I was surprised it actually took the referee so long to give us a yellow card, which was probably midway through the second half, I think Tom was, when he gave the penalty try. I was expecting a yellow card much earlier. Actually, he did give us a yellow card, didn't he, earlier in the
he did. But we just looking at the video after it was a lot of it was around the break. A lot of it was on the breakdown, and
it's the same referee that did the cup match. You remember Kilkenny as well last year. Niall Bagan is his name, is it? And we've our number 7, Shane O'Riordan. He seems to target him every time. He has a red scrum cap and he's always looking to go in on the ball. And he pinged Shane a couple of times. Now, probably rightfully, wrongfully, I don't know, but 2 or 3 times Shane did get on the ball and he did rightfully win his penalties, But discipline for us was an issue. The defence was great, but when we had the ball in attack, I think we were buying a little bit into our own importance and our own hype. We were trying to do silly things. We were trying to do crossfield kicks. We were trying to hit the edges and hit the wings and do all the fancy stuff before we did the hard stuff. And in fairness to Carlow, with the physicality that you were bringing in attack, you were bringing that physicality in defence. And we were being lethargic and laboured on our own breakdowns then. And I think Wes Shirley probably rucked us off our own ball maybe 3 or 4 times in the first half with a counter ruck. Like, that's passive from our guys. And our guys will need to learn that you can't be passive at breakdown. You might think you have your ball won. The opposition might call ice or non-compete, but you're still going to have a seasoned guy like Wes Shirley who's going to come in and say, F this, and he's going to hit the ruck and turn it over and win the ball on the other side. That's not good enough for a 1A or a 1B team to be comfortable, have the ball comfortably won, but yet allow one player counter ruck us and turn it over. I said it from 5 minutes into the game. I turned to somebody and said, we're being far too passive here. We need to actually up the ante, and we didn't. Our scrum at parts of the game held their own. At parts of the game, they didn't, particularly in the second half. I think we conceded 2 or 3 scrum penalties as well, albeit, at that stage of the game, ye had fresh props on. We then brought on Brian Howe. We brought on Dave O'Connor as well, and Jack Walsh. And in a way, that kind of seemed to turn the game in our favour. Dave O'Connor or Doc started to take the ball into contact a little bit harder and lead by example. Albeit the first ball he took in, he got absolutely smashed, and I think he got held up. Jack Walsh did well. Brian Howe did well. So I think, we had an opportunity at the very end to win it. Again, it was a 5-metre line out off a penalty. I think we were lethargic going up to the line out. I think the lads were having a laugh and joke. If we'd have taken it down and won the line out, it was potential that we could have drove over and gotten a draw out of the game. But what happened was the lads weren't switched on. They went up and threw a crooked line out. Carlow won the ball, kicked it out, game over. I think it would have been wrong if we won it. I think it would have been wrong. It wouldn't have been a reflection of the game if we won it in the end. You know, Carlow deserved their win. They were good value for their win. They outbattled us. They outfought us. They were harder than us. They just wanted it more. And as Tom said, Carlow brought a very simple but effective and aggressive game plan that we kind of struggle to deal with. And if we want to do well in our league, we need to be a little bit harder, a little bit cuter, and bring that gutsiness that Tom spoke about. Because if we're passive as we were last weekend, we're going to find our tails between our legs a lot during this season. I'm not going to say it was a good thing that we lost. We never liked losing. Nobody ever likes losing. But I think it might give the lads the boot up the hole that they might need.
There we are now.
Yeah, I think we ran out of steam, and coming into the last 20 minutes of that game, poor Richie was out. Richie was out on his.
I had a go at him actually.
He was absolute. I mean, I've never seen the man absolutely shattered.
He played well though.
He did. He was absolutely really well. Knackered, and you could see the difference in the bench. But like you've seen it yourself, like you won't get that same break in the last 20 minutes in a 1A game, you know, against a better side, against a stronger side, you know. But we gave it the full Holly. There was nothing held back.
He did.
I have to say, Paddy Rogers, young fella, Paddy came straight in from the 18s last year. That was his second actually senior game. He came in at loosehead prop and had a phenomenal game. Just so it's great to see young kids coming through.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, two lads that I need to mention actually are Ned Devlin and Alex Lawler, who were probably in for their first crack at proper start against kind of similar opposition in with our firsts. Ned is Noel Devlin's young fella, and Alex Lawler was on the wing. So good to see the two boys getting in. But I had a bit of a slag off Richie White, his grandmother there at 94 years of age, and Richie was lying down on the ground pretending he was injured. And I let her roar in at him. His granny is a bit blind. And I said, even your granny over the other side of the pitch knows you're lying down there. There's nothing wrong with you.
Get up off the ground. Good stuff. Great early season hit out, lads.
And look, we're out against Ashbourne now this weekend in the Leinster League, in the first round of the Leinster League. So there's excitement building about that. One or two injuries, one or two players not available. But if that was this stage last year, we'd be in dire straits trying to pull a squad together. This year we're not. You know, Doc has brought players back. You know, we're happy and comfortable with the squad that we have.
That's it. Johnny, you had a win on the road. Nice one.
Yeah.
Down in Wexford.
A win, yeah. With a typical trip to anywhere down there, Wexford, New Ross, any of these teams, when you're heading down there, you're in for a big slug or knock of a fight. And Wexford definitely brought physicality and you're expecting it. But look at it, it's a builder for us. We will train against Wexford this week, again in Tullow on Friday night. And then we have obviously Wicklow next week. But we learned a lot from that game last weekend. A couple of young lads blooded in, a couple of new signings blooded in. And what a game to get into. Where Wexford are Division 2A teams, Division 2B teams, and we can say what you like about the rugby. They are tough. They are really, really tough. And they will give you everything for as long as they possibly can. And in fairness to Wexford, did some nice players, and Graham was causing us a bit of hassle. Same way as he did Carlow and same way as he did Kilkenny.
Yeah, he's a good player, isn't he?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, he's able to play rugby, lads.
Yeah, he got a bit of an injury then, which not good for him, but very good for us, I think, because I think if he stayed on the field, might not have went our way because Paul Canavan went off with a concussion. So if you lose that, we don't have many more playmakers outside of Paul Canavan at the moment at out half. It's one place for the first time, I'd say, in 25, 30 years we're weak is an out half. We don't have a backup out half for Paul. But look at, yeah, lots of positives. Lads got to hit out, getting ready for a competitive game. Wicklow might not bring the same physicality as Wexford, but they'll be able to throw the ball around. So it's all going out for that first league game in 2 weeks' time.
Good stuff. You're happy enough, Johnny, anyway?
Yeah, like, look, sure, we've lads training there. Like I was saying last week, Carlow have 40 lads out, but we have 25, 28 maybe. But they're all generally in around the first team. They're not too many 18s are out yet because they're still playing football and whatever have you. And then there's a lot of seconds lads heavily involved in football. But hopefully now the Tullow are actually out this weekend in the football Saturday. So if that goes our way, we could get a few lads back either side of that. So
what do you mean goes their way, Johnny? They lose. They lose. That's
we get lads from either side of it, but we'll benefit either way. But yeah, look, it's in a good place. Training's going well. Lads are turning up and enjoying it. Definitely getting fitter. I could see that from the video. They're really getting fitter. Like they're lasting a lot longer than what they would have done last year. So yeah, look, no point complaining about it. It is what it is. We are where we are.
Stuff. Great, yeah, absolutely great to get a hit out. Like you said, you're not out for a week or two. James, you're Ashbourne. Is that this weekend, did you say?
Yeah, we're Ashbourne at home on Saturday, 1st and 2nd. So we're looking forward to it. Ashbourne are going to be coming down with a point to prove. I don't know much about them.
I'll say nothing about them this year.
Yeah, you upset them last year now, Johnny. So
but just for the record, I wasn't wrong. Just for the record. But I still like you, Bill Duggan. Don't worry, I still like you.
We don't know much about Ashbourne. You know, what players remain with them from last year, what players don't. They have new coaches brought in. Irrespective of whenever you play Ashbourne, it's going to be a tough game. The fact we beat them in the Towns Cup final last year will make it tougher. I'm not privy yet to any team sheets or anything like that. What's going to happen? One or two guys are not available. Some guys are available, so we can only play with the players that are at our disposal. But need to be cagey around it. We're looking forward to it. All the usual cliches I'm going to throw out now, but the point of it is it's the beginning of the Leinster League. You need to win. You need to win your home matches at least. We have ambitions of finishing in the top 4 of the league this year, and we can just see how it goes. The seconds will be looking as well. I think it'll be very, very interesting to see how our seconds go, because in fairness, Ashbourne have been their bogey team for the last number of years. They've always struggled against Ashbourne. This year, there's a solid seconds team in situ with ourselves. So it'll be really interesting. It'll be really, really great now for the seconds to get a result. And with the consistency that they have in the team, when I say consistency, I mean consistency of players so far. I'm expecting a good result for the seconds on Saturday. I think the first at this moment in time is I'd love to think that we're going to win. I do think we'll win. But that's without knowing a whole lot about Ashbourne yet, you know.
See what happens.
We'll see what happens. Doc will probably likely be starting. Damo Lahi will likely be starting. Wes Carter will be back. He wasn't available last weekend. Might be a swap up at scrum half from last weekend. We'll see as well. So a few players coming in. Few players that were involved last weekend won't be involved on Saturday, I'd say. But, you know, that you have to perform to keep yourself in a team. Competition is the best way to get the best performance out of yourself. There's a lot more competition in the squad this year, so we'll see what happens.
Our one thing is that Folkestone.
That's one thing that's going in our favour. You know, we play
the first league game being at home is a great benefit.
Talk.
Yeah. You know, so we don't know much about Ashbourne. Look, I'm expecting to see a lot of familiar faces down there. Don't we look at are the Walls going to play? We don't know. Is Gavin Kennedy going to be there? Is Gavin Kennedy going to be playing? We don't know. Look, I mean, we can only worry about our own house and worry about our own game plan. We learned a lot of lessons last weekend against Carlow. We had 2 or 3 sessions this week to try and fix those lessons and kind of find solutions to the problems that we saw there, even though I think most of the solutions to the problem are in the head rather than on the training pitch, you know, just to get lads right in the right frame of mind.
I think James playing at home in your first league match it'll be a different Kilkenny attitude coming out on the pitch. I hope so. You know, it's a totally different scenario. You know, it's like us going out against G and Carlow. The first home, as I said, like first home game's a massive thing. You know, like it's so important to get off the ground. You know,
we're trying to get a big crowd out there as well. So first home game of the season, bar is going to be open. There's music in the pub after it, or in the clubhouse after it. barbecue was going to be up all day. The under 18s are running a barbecue as a fundraiser for their tour at the end of the season. So look, we're trying to make a bit of a fun day about it. There's a lot of construction activity around the club at the moment, so just to notify people of that be careful when you're
walking.
But the women were meant to play New Ross last Sunday. That was called off with rain. I think they're playing Wanderers on Friday night in a challenge match. Is a Wexford? I think it's Wanderers. I'm not sure. It's Wexford Wanderers or Wanderers. They're regrouping as well, and a mixed bag of results then for the youth teams last weekend. So I think the under 14 girls and boys had wins against Gorey. I think the under 16s lost against Tullow. Was it Tullow? And the under 18s lost against Tullow.
Well, yeah.
It's good hit outs for them. It's early in the season, so we'll see.
Absolutely. We're going to talk All Blacks Australia and the Emerging Ireland squad as well. But first we're going to talk about Sean O'Brien's application to play junior rugby. Now, Johnny, as you're from Tullow Rugby Club, as we can expect, because there's an appeal going on, there's no comment from the club, including yourself. So you're going to sit out this particular discussion, which is grand, but we'll stay on the line, as the lad says. We'll have a chat about in a second. So the news, lads, as you've heard, Sean put in an application to play junior rugby. For anyone listening that's not sure, Sean can't just come back from professional rugby, having played for Leinster, Ireland Lions, London Irish, and go straight back to Tullow. He had to apply, and there are rules and regulations around it, but Sean's application was denied. The current regulations state that he can play senior rugby, but for health and safety grounds, more or less, he can't go straight down to junior rugby for at least 2 years post professional retirement. Obviously, it has caused, debates online and further afield and everything as well. Sean naturally would be not happy with the decision himself. Tullow have appealed it, as I said there. Tullow are making no comment at the moment because obviously there's a process in place there at the moment. So obviously not going to comment on it there. But what's your own thoughts on it when you seen the news pop up there during the week?
I think these things are about perspective, Sean O'Brien's not going back to play for a club for a wedge of cash. He's going back to his home club. There's Tullow blood going through his veins. He's not going to a club to try and play junior rugby for a club that he has no affinity to. He's going to a club that means something to him, the club that he played all of his youth rugby with. There's other ex-pros playing in the Leinster League at the moment, going to clubs that they have no affiliation with. That's my problem with it. There seems to be no issue with certain players going to certain clubs to play for that club, and potentially, I don't know if they are, get a wedge of cash to go to them and then get a handy few quid for getting a hit out at the weekend and maybe training once during the week. That's not what Sean is about. I've met Sean a handful of times. He's not that sort of guy. He's going back not only to contribute to his home club, but to contribute to junior rugby. This carry on is saying that he can go play AIL rugby. That's grand if he's going playing AIL Division 1 rugby. If you go down the leagues, down to Division 2C, in my mind, there's 2 teams in 2C that always do well, that run away with it. The rest of the games in Division 2C, which is AIL rugby, probably Leinster League Division A and 1B, are of an equal, I suppose, an equal level to that. And if you ask me, there's not very much between those 3 divisions, and that's where my issue is. As I said, it's about perspective. Tullow aren't in our league, that's fine, but I think it'd be brilliant to see Sean O'Brien talking out in a Tullow jersey this year. Can you imagine the crowds that will go to it? My issue is simply that the precedence has been set with other clubs. We had Mick Galway playing for us years ago. You had George Nwupo in Wicklow a couple of years ago. You had James Downey in Monkstown. You had Danny Poolman in Bective. You had Malcolm O'Kelly up in Malahide, all playing junior rugby. I don't see why Sean can't play for his home club. That's my issue.
Yeah, it's...
But I can understand the safety side of it. I can understand the perspective that Sean.
The rule seemingly is only being enforced. Seemingly is to be enforced in the last 2 years that it seems to have come out. There's obviously a reason behind it that hasn't. It's not coming out direct. I don't like. The hardest thing, I suppose, is like we'd all like. All joking aside, like Sean is a massive attraction for junior rugby. I know Carl will be up against him if he does play, but it's not. It's not the point of Sean playing against Carlow. We want him to play against Carlow. Yes, if Sean O'Brien is playing in Carlow, there's going to be there's going to be more money coming into us through the gate. It's not that is Sean going to win the game for them. It's not necessarily. Sean is one person on a team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can cause. He's a phenomenal player and way above the standards that we play, but he is going. There's players who were excited about playing against him. So I know some will be fearful of him, but I don't like. There's two sides to it. There's the side of what good can bring to it, and then there's the side that obviously there's a reason why. And I think a lot of what I have heard is coming back is seeming the safety issue of that you're going to be up against where a young lad of 18 might just have come up from the under 18s and could be playing directly in front of Sean. Is the next thing, does it open up a can of worms? And the next thing to say that the next one is going to be Tyke Furlong propping for New Ross at tight head. Like if he comes up, you know, why is the rule there? There's a reason behind the rule, and obviously, but they haven't really come out and said exactly what the rule. Yeah. Why there's such. I didn't understand
that. Google doesn't agree either.
I don't know what happened. There's something about me lately about instructions, but I think realistically, there's obviously the rule is there. It's trying to figure out why and is it enforced fully. If it's the same across the board, we've all had issues, and James, we were discussing one. I won't bring it up here, but there is a similar situation coming into another club. Could effectively happen in another club, and it doesn't. There seems to be nothing about it. So, is it? If everything is if there's a sincere clarity and it's coming from the top and it's across the board and it's an end of story, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. If you were a professional rugby player, you cannot play junior rugby for 2 seasons. If that is across the board and there is no variances to it or there's no exceptions to it, and that rule has been enforced, then you can understand it. There's a clarity there, and if the reasoning is straight up and it's honest, you have to accept that. You have to accept that reason for the rule being there. But I think in this issue there is an awful lot of cloudiness around some of the players that played before, and it's not James sitting in ahead. Like we're not going into the transactions. It's a case of Sean is playing for his home club. That's fair enough. As I said, like if Tyke Furlong went back to New Ross, he's playing for the club that he was born and reared into. But would you have a case of the next one, somebody suddenly going, "Oh, somebody's retiring. Yeah, well here you go. We want to have you in our club," and they're not from that club. You know, is it going to open a can of worms? If the whole thing is going to open a can of worms? Like, it's not getting the press of it is kind of
but
you can see the decision somewhere. Some of it is Sean hitting, as in tackling or running into a young and inexperienced player who's just stepped up to senior rugby, as in junior senior rugby. You know, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's a like you're talking about the money thing. If Tyke Furlong retired and Carlow had a wad of cash and they said, right, we're going to throw the kitchen sink of cash at Tyke to play a prop for Carlow, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to when he retires. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to transfer into Towns Cups wins and all that sort of stuff. And it's a big risk for a junior club to throw a few bob behind an ex-professional as well and hang all your hopes and dreams on it as well. You know what I mean? Like being realistic about it, you know, pros coming off, professionals retiring, are they going to be, is it hugely attractive for them to go to a junior club? You know, Sean's is a very real case in the sense that it's his home club and like you said and all that sort of thing. But Yeah, I don't know. I'd be looking at the other side of it, going like, look at the message it sends to younger players playing junior rugby. The journey that Sean has followed right back into Tullow and that as well. That he's able to link it from the start back around again, and just the advertisement
New
it has.
Zealand.
Yeah.
You know, it happens a whole lot in New Zealand. Like a player gets injured, he can go the whole way back. Now I don't know the structure in New Zealand, but he can go the whole way back to his home club. And play for that club to get some fitness back, and then he can go on to his provincial team, be it South Canterbury, and then he can go from there back to the Crusaders and back to the All Blacks.
Yeah,
this is the best rugby nation in the world. It happens there. Why can't it happen here?
Yeah, Isaac Boss, Easton Asiba, Michael Bent, all those fellas that have went back to their countries or straight back to their clubs, because they said, I haven't played with my club since I was a teenager, you know, because they went pro obviously, and they're delighted with it.
You know, like, I don't want to implicate myself or Kilkenny Rugby Club in any of the comments I've said there, but that's strictly my own opinion on it. That I just think that there's a bigger picture here for the benefit of the league, for player development, for everything, I think. And I totally get the safety part in it as well. Absolutely, 100%. I see the safety.
This is an IRF. This is not a Leinster. I mean, everybody's blaming Leinster. Everybody's blaming Leinster for this. This is not a Leinster. This is an IRFU ruling.
Yeah,
but it's enforced through Leinster.
Yeah,
but
the
rules we all abide to. Like, we get the rulings every year at the start of the season. Like, say, from the youth committee, from the Leinster Youth Committee, we would have a list that we have the list coming to us, and then we pass it on down to the clubs. The same with the senior committees or the Leinster junior committees. They will pass on the information that's coming through every year, but they are developed from the IRFU. So that is an IRFU ruling. That is not just a Leinster ruling. So you can't. This is why I'm saying the issue I have with it is the clarity of the ruling. Somebody needs to come out, and not from Leinster, not from Connacht, Munster, or Ulster. It needs to be an IRFU. Somebody from the IRFU has to stand up and say, this is the rules, and this is the reason why, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then there is no exception to the rule. It is standardized. And then you can kind of go, okay, well then that's the rule. But at the moment, everybody's looking at Twitter, and we're looking at Leinster, and Leinster are getting the backlash of it. But it can't be. It has to. It goes through Leinster, but Leinster are abiding by the rulings that they have, a guideline, and those guidelines are IRFU guidelines. It's the same as a disciplinary committee. If something happens and you're brought to a disciplinary committee, you go up to the Leinster branch, and there's people around the table. Those people are only following the rules that they're given by the IRFU. They don't suddenly make it up and go, oh, Jesus, Johnny, you hit a slap. That's it. This week you're going to get a week's ban, or next week you're going to, oh, no, you're all right. All those things are clarified. It's law.
Yeah, look, I understand there's people in the IRFU as well, and they're people, they risk assess things, they look at everything. It might be that the players that I quoted and the clubs that I quoted, it might be that they did make their application. I firmly believe that they did. And on a case-by-case basis, kind of looked at them and went, okay, that's fine for Danny to go play for Becta, for James Downey to go to Monkstown, or George Narupo and Wicklow. And fine and dandy. But as you said, Tom, let's see the transparency on it. Is there a case-by-case risk assessment?
Like, did somebody get injured by a professional player in the last 2 years or 3 years, whatever it is, that is really enforcing this rule?
And badly at that,
you know, did it happen? Is there a reason behind it, or is it preventative? Is it an insurance issue? Like, if it's from, like, we're all being screwed by insurance companies, and like, it's so hard. Like, the IRFU insurance is so tight for players. It really is. Like, to be honest, you want to die or lose a limb before you get anything back.
Yeah.
You know, we have to have our own. Players have to have their own insurance. If they don't have their own insurance, it's crazy in this day and age. But like, insurance companies and people being insured, it's just gone so strict. You know, you take it from a bouncy castle to whatever. Everything is just gone bananas at the moment. So if it's coming from an insurance point of view and safety point of view, I still believe it's back to the structure. It has to be law, and somebody has to stand up and make a statement from the IRFU that this is the reason why
clear it up. You know,
they can't hide from it. Don't leave it in Leinster's. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to just leave it on Leinster's.
No,
on Leinster's plate, and that everybody is now looking. We've all seen the tweets coming through. So it's sometimes it's 60-40 towards lads start off saying it's great, and then they come back on the safety issue, or and I would I like my young fella coming off the 18s to be standing in front of Sean, but it's a contact sport anyway.
Injuries are always around the corner. Like
there is somebody else. Yes, Sean is. I mean, he's still in some nick. He's a phenomenal athlete. But there is players out there who are 20, 22 stone. There's Kiwis coming over playing for teams. What's to say I can't go out and say, right, let's go to New Zealand and send me over some. Have you got a big lad over there? Next month we have a 22 stone back row, number 8 or second row, running at an 18-year-old. So
Sean's strength and conditioning, while still very good, wouldn't be at the level it was when he was at the height of pro either. He's had a summer. He's just like that's.
Don't get forced to go there, lads.
If you're listening, Sean, that's not.
I've seen him, and he's trying to tell you. I've seen him on a Monday night
2 weeks ago in Kilkenny, and my God, he is in some shape.
Oh, he's in savage shape, but he keeps. Yeah, he minds himself absolutely. But he's not in that high performance sort of training regime. Like the professional thing as such, if you know what I mean. So like some of that there will be a fall off there as well.
I did say this, and I'm not kind of thinking of saying I'm a right lad. I did say this a number of times because I was aware of this rule. I did say it a number of times last year, and I even said it to his sister Alex over the summer. I don't think that'll get through because of this rule that's in place. Because if you go the whole way back, I remember, was it 3 seasons ago, a particular player who came back from playing professionally in Australia, went to play for a junior club in Dublin, and there was a big hoo-ha around that. And I remember that particular player played against us in 2 games. And we were asked by some clubs to support and appeal and whether we would or we wouldn't. But however, I remember saying it at that stage because it brought it to my mind. I don't think that'd be passed. But look, it's been made. Best of luck with the appeal, Johnny. I think it was evident on Twitter last night looking at it that most of the Southeast clubs that I was looking at are support Tullow in hope of getting Sean O'Brien playing for him next year.
Sure. We'll see how the appeal goes and keep an eye on all that stuff as well. We'll move on quickly, lads. We're running out of time. We'll talk about the emerging Ireland squad. We'll get Johnny back into the conversation as well. Oh, look, he's hidden under the banner. I may take it down.
Keep me out with this one as well.
You're going to hide your face there, look.
Are you okay now, Johnny? You look like you're ready to burst there listening to myself and Tom and Stephen talk BS there for...
As I was once taught, no comment is the best comment.
Absolutely. It's a nice picture you have there, Johnny, over your right shoulder. I recognise the 2 buckles in that.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, look.
Wait to see this, lads. Look. Copped it there.
Show you up close.
20
Stephen made my sitting room.
2017 Towns Cup final against Skerries up in the tie. We're doing commentary.
Did you ever think you'd see me moving as fast when I cleared the trailer and across the fence?
There's about 5 foot up that was some jump. Lads, so the Emerging Ireland Tour, we spoke about it briefly a couple of weeks ago. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? It's still getting mixed reactions, and they've even touched on the point. David Nucifora has said that he was conscious of not raiding the provinces of players either. So they tried to strike a balance with naming this team as well. But a lot of names on it that you would have expected, I suppose, and you would have talked about a couple of weeks ago. The likes of Kieran Frawley, Robert Balakoon, those type of lads. But what do you reckon overall of the team named, lads? Whoever wants to start there.
Can I just point out that I think, looking at that squad, I think, to be honest with you, it's made a bit of a farce of, in my opinion. There's players left in provinces who actually could do with getting international caps and could actually impact the main Irish team when and if needed. Like how Thomas Daly is not involved in that is beyond me.
Yeah, I was wondering about that one as well.
Like seriously, like the centres there that are picked: Shane Daly, Antoine Frisk, Stuart Moore. Surely Thomas Daly deserves a call there.
Well, I honestly, I don't know. I actually kind of had to look twice when I saw Shane Daly there. I don't think he's a centre. Anton Frisch, I understand because Anton Frisch, I understand because he's a project player and such. That I mean, he's eligible. He's eligible for Ireland, and I'd say they want to see what he's like. He's the new French guy coming into the Munster setup. Short Moore, I don't know a lot about him as Tom. I would have loved to seen Tom get a go. Of course,
because he was on that training squad. Like he was training with Ireland, last year for the summer tour.
Don't get me wrong. There's some really good positives in it there. Nathan Doak there, Scott Penny, Max Deegan, like they're positive. Thomas Ahern's a very good rugby player.
Alex Findell.
Joe McCarthy.
Soroka.
Like Tom Clarkson, they're a really good rugby player. Like it's good to see them lads, but I just don't understand it because what are they trying to gain from it? Like, are they trying to gain to just give lads caps, or are they trying to build a reserve squad for the World Cup? Because to be honest with you, no disrespect to anyone on it, but if that was your reserve squad for the World Cup, you wouldn't
I think 2027 is in mind here, lads.
Right.
That's my take. I said it in a few weeks, and a couple of days, and the last one as well. I think 2027 is absolutely in mind here, and we want to start getting players into that environment. And I see it particularly at the out half position there, that there's 3 out halves there, and I think there's a succession. They're starting to think succession in there with Crowley, Flannery, and particularly Frawley.
Is it a double-edged sort of thing as well, James? They're looking at, like you said, down the line, but also looking within the next year or two, even like you said with Johnny bowing out next year, like Kieran Frawley, if he steps up in this and he steps up in the province, we know, will he be number 3 for Ireland for the seniors?
I'd like to see Kieran Frawley as number 2 for Ireland. I'm going to state it now. As much as I like Joey Carberry,
15 to September.
I think he's a phenomenal player. I still believe Joey Carberry's playing in the wrong position. He still should be back. Still should have remained a full back. Not at out half. He's okay out half. He hasn't stood up. And I was listening to actually a podcast, the Red podcast the other day with
Three Red Kings
Munster, and they made an honest point. They said if Joey Carberry doesn't stand up at Munster at 10 this season,
good luck.
His place won't be guaranteed. This season.
In the World Cup.
No, I'm talking about as a Munster player.
Munster. Well,
if he doesn't perform at 10, they have to look and say whether he's bar as number 2 or not. It's going to be the best out half will have to start the games. I mean, there's a whole new redevelopment there. They have to catch up. They have to catch up on Leinster, and and the only way they're going to do that is just they're going to have to be ballsy about it and pick the right squad. So I would love to see Kieran Frawley. I think he's a phenomenal player, absolute phenomenal player.
Yeah, so this is a quick project, Tom, then as well. It's like because they threw Kieran out for the All Blacks Maori games. They brought him on that tour, and out of this as well. So it's sort of like a speed project, to try and get a number 2, number 3 there. Oh, I'm feeding back there. I can hear myself.
Oh, I agree with you. Totally.
Jack Crowley definitely on the long finger as an out half, definitely. And it's good that he's being thrown into that situation now.
I think it's great to see Jake Flannery in there. He's made a big move to leave Munster, go up the road to Ulster. I think it's good to see him in there, particularly to see how Jake Flannery works with Nathan Doak as well, because that could be a long-term 9 and 10 partnership that you might see somewhere for Ulster in a couple of years' time if he stays up there.
Yeah.
Look at those back rows, lads.
I was just about to say the back rows. Look at the back rows. James Cannan, Max Deegan, John Hodgner. They're a phenomenal. That's a phenomenal. We as a country, we're never short. It just seems to be blessed.
They're serious.
But I think our key positions are going to be front row, props, hookers, and second rows. More so than any other.
Look at the 2 second rows there at the moment.
Rebuilt.
Look at the 2 first second rows. Thomas Ahern and Brian Deeney. They played Irish 20s together. 2020, I was over in Nottingham. They played England and they won the Triple Crown actually that night. Brian Deeney is a Wexford chap, incredible rugby player. Thomas Ahern is an absolute beast of rugby player.
Yeah, Joe McCarthy's coming through.
I saw Joe McCarthy 2 weeks ago training when they were down. Joe McCarthy is an
He's
absolute tank. He has a pair of legs on him. Like, no, looking at him, you'd think he's a loose head prop. And then when he gets up close, you see the height of him, you go, this lad's a bear of a fella. Like.
Brian Deeney was only playing last week for Leinster A's against Connacht.
Yeah.
Get on very well, actually.
It's just we have to make sure we tie down the key positions. Front row is a huge thing. Like it's good to see Josh Wycherley and Roman Sallandor, whatever you call it. My pronunciation's not great today.
Leinster.
Right, yeah. But he spent his first year and a bit in Munster injured. So he's only coming back now. Sorry, 2 seasons basically injured. Every time he come on, he went off. So hopefully, fingers crossed, because he has the size. He seems to have good hands. He obviously, he was obviously in Leinster for a reason. I think he was a project player to send to Munster to develop, not just because there was so many props at that time. So like he obviously has form, but it'll good to see him coming along. The country's tight enough on props.
I think the fact that Keenan Knox isn't in this squad now because he is IEQ'd, I think the fact that he's not in it is suggestive to me that he is going to be the starting tight head for Munster this year, and they can't go without him for the early parts of the season.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of front row, and they didn't buy, and we were actually a bit disappointed because one of the props they had aimed at, I think, signed back up for the Crusaders. So, we just.
I think it's an exciting squad. It'd be great to see it.
See how the project goes.
Yeah, I think it's good. Let him off to head and enjoy
it. Absolutely. Lads, we're way over time, as the lad says. We'll talk about the All Blacks some other time. They beat Australia anyway, 39-37 in the Bledisloe Cup. Australia were leading by 3 points with a couple of minutes to go, and then a whole heap of things happened.
The All Blacks happened.
The weirdest penalty I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Was that where the chap got a yellow card for coming in the side of a ruck or something, was it? Or?
No, he got the last penalty of the game was seemingly I missed it. He got the yellow card. He got a time wasting. What? I was going back to bed.
It took too long to take his kick and time wasting, and then the ref turned it around, and sure the All Blacks.
Well, lad, to be fair now, it is a law.
Yeah.
And I've never seen many referees enforce that law, so it's great to see.
How do you feel about the laws, Johnny?
I like the laws of the game.
No comments. No comments.
Yeah, treading a fine line there, Johnny. To be careful, lads. We'll wrap it up and we'll chat to you next week. It's been great chatting to you. Good luck in the weekend's match, James, against Ashbourne, and the rest of you are out in action, of course, in the next couple of weeks as well. Enjoy your weekend, fellas, and we'll chat to you then. That's Tom Crotty, Johnny Tobin, James Blanchfield, and myself, Stephen Byrne. Take it easy.
See you, lads.